December 26, 2004, dawned bright and peaceful across Southeast Asia. The sun rose gently over the horizon, casting golden light across tranquil waters and sleepy villages. It was a morning like any other, filled with the quiet routines of daily life. Tourists lounged on beaches, soaking in the warmth, while fishermen readied their nets for the day's catch. Children laughed and played in the surf, their voices mingling with the soft rush of the waves. The air was warm, filled with the promise of a perfect day. Palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the world seemed untouched by worry or fear. But deep beneath the Indian Ocean, disaster was already in motion. Tectonic plates shifted silently, building pressure that would soon be unleashed with unimaginable power. Suddenly, the sea began to recede, pulling back from the shore and exposing the seabed. Fish flopped helplessly on the wet sand, and the ocean floor lay bare, an eerie sight that puzzled onlookers. People watched in confusion, some venturing out onto the wet sand, marveling at the strange sight. Many took photos, unaware of the danger that was rapidly approaching. The usual roar of the waves was replaced by an eerie silence and a distant, growing rumble. The air felt heavy, as if nature itself was holding its breath. A few elders recognized the danger and shouted warnings, urging people to run, but most were captivated, unaware of the threat that loomed just beyond the horizon. On the horizon, a thin white line appeared, growing taller, darker, and moving fast. It was the first sign of the tsunami, a force of nature gathering speed and strength. The rumble became a deafening roar. Realization dawned too late for many as panic swept the beach. People turned and ran, but the sea was already returning with unimaginable force. The ground shook beneath their feet as the wall of water surged forward. This was not a wave, but a wall of water, a tsunami, unstoppable and merciless. It crashed ashore, swallowing everything in its path. Homes, boats, and lives were swept away in an instant. The peaceful morning was shattered in seconds. The world these communities knew was changed forever. The ocean, once calm, became a force of destruction, churning with debris and chaos. In moments, lives and landscapes were changed forever. Survivors searched desperately for loved ones amid the wreckage. The world would soon learn the true meaning of nature's fury, as news of the disaster spread across the globe. The tsunami's journey had just begun, racing across the Indian Ocean toward distant shores, leaving devastation in its wake. For many, there was no escape. The power of the sea was overwhelming, and survival became a matter of chance. The day that began in tranquility ended in chaos. The storm had arrived, and its impact would be felt for generations to come. What unleashed this devastation? How could a single moment in time lead to such widespread destruction and heartbreak? The answer lay deep beneath the Indian Ocean, hidden from sight but building in power for centuries. A massive earthquake struck as the Indian plate slipped under the Burma plate, rupturing a fault line over 1,600 kilometers long, an immense fracture in the Earth's crust. In an instant, the seafloor was thrust upward, displacing a colossal volume of water and sending shockwaves through the ocean. The earthquake measured between 9.1 and 9.3, one of the strongest ever recorded in human history. The energy released equaled 23,000 Hiroshima bombs, so powerful it even made the planet wobble on its axis and slightly altered the length of the day. From the epicenter off Sumatra, tsunami waves raced outward at jet speed, crossing the Indian Ocean in mere hours. In the deep ocean, the waves were barely noticeable, but as they neared land, they grew into towering walls of water, unstoppable and merciless. There was no warning system in the Indian Ocean, no sirens, no alerts, no chance to escape. Coastal communities were left completely vulnerable, unaware of the danger racing toward them. The tsunami's power was a brutal lesson in Earth's interconnectedness, as waves struck shores thousands of kilometers apart. A single event triggered devastation across thousands of kilometers, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The ocean, struck from below, delivered a knockout blow to the land, shattering lives and communities in seconds. Survival depended on knowledge and preparation, both in short supply that day, as confusion and panic spread. The world watched, stunned, as the true scale of the disaster unfolded before their eyes, uniting people in shock and sorrow. Nature's raw power had been unleashed, leaving behind a changed world and a haunting memory. The consequences would be felt around the globe, sparking a new awareness of the need for preparedness and global cooperation. The tsunami struck 14 countries, leaving a trail of devastation that spanned continents and oceans. It quickly became clear that this was a disaster of international scale, drawing the world's attention and urgent response. Indonesia's Aceh province, closest to the epicenter, was hit first and hardest. Waves over 30 meters high obliterated entire towns, leaving nothing but debris and silence where communities once thrived. The destruction spread outward. Thailand's tourist beaches, Sri Lanka's coasts, and India's villages were all devastated, their landscapes forever changed in a matter of minutes. In Sri Lanka, a packed passenger train was swept away by the surging waters, becoming one of history's worst rail disasters and a symbol of the tsunami's sudden fury. The waves surged into India, destroying homes and livelihoods, forcing families to search for loved ones and salvage what little remained. Even East Africa, 5,000 kilometers away, felt the impact. Villages in Somalia were wiped out, and the distant shores bore scars from a disaster that began an ocean away. The tsunami's reach was global, its destruction indiscriminate, affecting people of every background and every walk of life. A single seismic event connected distant nations in shared tragedy, as families everywhere mourned together. The Indian Ocean's beauty became a scene of chaos and loss, its tranquil shores transformed in an instant. The world was united in shock and grief, coming together to remember those lost and support the survivors. The tsunami's legacy would be felt for generations, shaping the memories and futures of countless communities across the globe. The destruction was almost unimaginable. The tsunami was a liquid bulldozer, flattening everything in its path. Concrete crumbled, steel twisted, and entire hotels vanished. In many places, nothing remained but mud and debris. The economic cost soared past $10 billion. Infrastructure, roads, bridges, power was wiped out, hampering rescue efforts. Saltwater ruined farmland and freshwater supplies for years. Coral reefs and mangrove forests, natural defenses, were destroyed. The environment was left scarred and polluted. Survivors described the relentless roar as water pulverized everything. The tsunami's force was unstoppable, a reminder of nature's might. Rebuilding would mean more than construction. It would require healing deep wounds. The coastline and its people would never be the same. The true tragedy was the human toll. Over 230,000 lives were lost, families shattered, futures erased in moments. In some villages, entire generations disappeared. Tourists and locals alike were swept away, making this a global tragedy. Millions were left homeless, with nothing but the clothes they wore. Survivors spoke of losing everything in an instant. The emotional trauma was immense. Parents lost children, children were orphaned. The tsunami did not discriminate. It struck rich and poor, young and old. Families searched desperately for missing loved ones. The psychological scars would last far longer than the physical wounds. Every lost life was a story cut short. The world mourned together, united in grief. The human cost was a wound that would never fully heal. In the aftermath, survival was a daily struggle. With no clean water, food, or shelter, disease threatened the survivors. Medical facilities were destroyed or overwhelmed. Local communities became first responders, rescuing neighbors and sharing what little they had. International aid soon arrived. Military, NGOs, and volunteers brought supplies and hope. Temporary camps were crowded and harsh, with little privacy or comfort. The emotional toll was heavy. People grieved and waited, uncertain of the future. Psychological support was as vital as food and medicine. Amidst the chaos, stories of resilience emerged. Survivors cleared rubble, salvaged materials, and began to rebuild their lives. The human spirit endured, refusing to be broken. This was more than survival. It was the first step toward recovery. Hope, though battered, was not lost. Rebuilding after the tsunami was a global effort. Billions in aid and thousands of volunteers poured in from around the world. The focus was not just on rebuilding structures, but on restoring lives and livelihoods. Safer homes were built, mangroves replanted, and new warning systems installed. The Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System now gives precious minutes to evacuate. Memorials honor the lost, and communities have risen from the ruins. Banda Aceh and other towns have been rebuilt, scars visible but hope stronger. The tsunami's legacy is one of resilience and unity. The world learned, adapted, and remembered. From unimaginable loss, a story of survival and hope emerged.